Hey guys, thanks for joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk. If you're a returning listener, it's great to have you back. If you're new to the podcast, really glad you joined us. Hope you like what you hear. So, one of the things we do is have folks on who are willing to share their personal stories and their expertise and how they've managed to navigate life and what they've learned from it. We have awesome people that come on the podcast. Today's guest is certainly in that awesome category. Her name is Dr. Jenna Sage. So, she has both professional experience in coaching and teaching and dealing with hard conversations and loss and challenge and a personal experience as her husband was diagnosed about 10 years ago with a rare but terminal cancer. And so she's going to share her expertise with us on the podcast today. We're super grateful that she's able to join us and really excited about the conversation. Without further ado, let's bring Jenna on now. So, Dr. Sage, welcome to Salty Ginger Talk. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me here today. Thanks for making space for this conversation, and for just opening the door to talk more about what we're going to talk about and again, just connecting. I'm really excited.
Yes, such good stuff. So, to start off with, why don't you just talk a little bit about your background, where you came from, where you went to school, kind of your path to where you are now, and then we'll dig into some of the details after that.
Absolutely. Yeah. The origin story, right?
Yeah, right.
Um, so the doctor comes from a degree in special education. So I spent a good chunk of the first part of my career in public education, elementary through high school, really working with students, teachers, and families who were impacted by special education diagnoses. In this case, emotional behavioral disabilities was kind of my specialty. So I was in a lot of classrooms with kids who had a lot of struggles in life, a lot of trauma, neglect, abuse. There was just a lot of difficulty. And part of that work and role was mediating between schools and families, helping to reduce conflict that was happening, literally to resolve challenges between schools, families. Um, a lot of it was coaching and helping teachers to deal with the stress of every day. And so I spent a lot of time just kind of learning, like boots on the ground in the field, what it really meant to help take care of people. I also am a board certified behavior analyst. So that means that I'm really good at kind of observing and paying attention to trends in human behavior and helping people understand how you can make changes in behavior through motivation. I like to say it's a science that I love to know, but I don't like to use, because we've also just learned so much more beyond like stimulus control and that kind of basic Skinnerian old school behavioral model. Um, on my day to day, my full time work, I support a large remote workforce and I help them with their everyday wellness and well being programming. And so, again, I continue to have a lot of conversations about mental health, about wellness, about how people take care of themselves. And then to come full circle and to really kind of set the foundation for our conversation today, I'm a caregiver. So, close to a decade ago, my husband was diagnosed with a rare terminal cancer diagnosis. And anybody that has sat in a doctor's office and gotten news like that, that's life changing. And our road and our path from that day forward just shifted and became a series of trying to understand how to navigate that and life on a regular basis. And that's really what brought me to having more conversations and talking about things like grief and loss and death and dying and being a caregiver because we just don't talk about it enough. Nobody was talking about it, and I deal with it every single day. And so I want more people to have healthy conversations about it.
Wow. So let me just go ahead and in my I'm the master of understatement. I'm going to go ahead and call you a subject matter expert on the stuff that we're talking about today. From
I wish you
training, from
luck.
from decades of professional experience and from over a decade of personal experience. So I like to call out the obvious to the audience because sometimes it goes unsaid. And I just want to make sure you guys understand, we've got someone here with so much experience in the subjects we talk about on the podcast all the time. Uh, you know, get the notebook out, get the pencil out, stop what you're doing and start taking some notes because this is going to be a great conversation. So let's start a little earlier with the lighter stuff and then we'll work into some of the heavier stuff if that works for you.
Yeah.
How did you get interested in pursuing your degree and your doctorate in education, special education specifically? What motivated you to do that?
Oh, that's such a fun journey, right? There's that like graphic out there about success, and everybody assumes it's kind of like this linear path, but really it like goes like this. And like my career and journey has just been such a fun ride. But so I'm the daughter of a teacher. I have kind of education in my blood, but I was also a child who grew up saying, like, I'm never going to be a teacher. I never want to be a teacher. I saw how hard my mom worked on a regular basis. She was raising two kids. Um, the irony is, both my brother and I became not just educators, but went in and got our doctoral degrees. So like, we fulfilled this prophecy that like neither one of us wanted to fulfill. But the interesting part is I was actually pursuing a degree really more in that behavior analytic field. I was going to be an animal trainer. I was going to go like swim with dolphins and like train horses and, save the world through National Geographic. But um the calling to care for humans just continued to find me. And I was literally halfway through a master's degree in animal training and enrichment at one of the best programs in Texas, and picked up and moved to Vancouver, Canada, to finish my degree in special education. Um, Really because it just felt like a better fit for me. Um, and even in my day-to-day work now, I'm not still like using that doctorate in the way that it was bequeathed to me, but on a day-to-day basis, I'm still having the same kinds of conversations about how we take care of ourselves and what emotions mean and do to us, and how we hold stress and how we take care of ourselves. And um, the the coincidence of having so many of those conversations in classrooms with these little kiddos and still applying the same things to adults who are just struggling and still haven't learned or given themselves the time or space to really care for themselves. I keep
Mm.
saying that, but know what they need and be honest about what emotions are happening and how they can work through that and help themselves. And we kind of over pathologize now, right? We name everything and we just say, oh, I have ADHD. I have this. Let me just give it a label and then it's okay. But we never address it. And I think, again, especially when you face a medical challenge, you don't have any option but to learn how to figure it out on a day-to-day basis. It's literally it becomes a battle. And so you never wanted to like suit up and become a warrior, but you end up becoming an advocate, a doctor, a nurse, everything. You have to learn the whole thing, a financial expert. Like I don't know how to take care of all of this stuff, but you just do it. Um, you would think a doctoral degree would like come in handy, but no, you're not an expert in any of this. Nothing can prepare you. Um, and so again, I think the more that we can be honest and just say the words, I deal with death. Somebody in my life is dying. I have to have conversations about dementia, menopause, cancer, chronic illness, just so many things that we know are people are dealing with all the time.
Yeah, it's the real world, right? And that's the thing is that a lot of times we like to kind of bury our heads in the sand and say, well, if I don't address it, if I don't bring it up, I'll be more comfortable. I won't have to deal with it. And we actually make it worse when we do that. Like anything else, when, right? I always say the best disinfectant is sunlight. So when you drag things out into the sunlight, they almost always get better. And even when it sucks, even when it's hard, even when it's 100% your fault, there is a catharsis of just falling on your sword and saying, hey, I fucked this up 7 ways a Sunday and I need you to know about it. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, and in this case and in this conversation, right, we have created a culture where we don't glorify death and dying anymore. And there are so many other cultures out there who have that conversation on a regular basis. Morbidity isn't a thing that is taboo. It's not something that you hide from. You shiva for 7 days, or you have a whole day where you celebrate the people who have died and passed. You talk to them, you light candles. We don't do those things commonly anymore, right? And especially when you talk about the workplace. I mean, the workplace, you get 3 to 5 days. You hand somebody a death certificate to prove that you had that 3 to 5 days. There's nothing that you can accomplish in grief in 3 to 5 days. There's nothing you can accomplish logically in 3 to 5 days. Like people don't even respond to emails in a 3 to 5 day period. And yet we're expected to just like power on through. And um, it's very interesting to me, again, that we've gotten to a place where it feels full circle again, where we're back to, well, we need to talk about it more. And we need to sit in this space and we need to be honest about the fact that it's real. Nobody survives this ride.
yeah, I
Nobody.
would say life's so hard when nobody makes it out alive. Like
Yeah.
it's a straight, it just is the truth. And
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, like we just, to your point, we got to talk about it more. We got to recognize it and we've got to acknowledge it. And so like my parents are in their late 70s, pushing 80, and my in-laws are one of them, my father-in-law is in his 80s and my mother-in-law is pushing it. And they're all at varying degrees of health and mental health and so it's just a part of your world. It becomes a part of your world whether you want it to be or not. And look, the way I look at it, so I'm fortunate that it's never been hard for me to put the people that I care about at the center of my world. So I've been married to my wife for 33 years. We got married very young. I'm not a drinker, so I wasn't out at bars. I wasn't chasing girls. I wasn't doing stupid stuff. Let me rephrase that. I wasn't doing typical stupid stuff. I was doing my own really stupid stuff all these years, but um, so, as people start to like your relationship changes and they need your help instead of you needing their help. And I think you have a responsibility, at least I feel a responsibility to do the best I can at that as that changes in their life. And I was talking to my wife about this yesterday, actually, and just said, we kind of have become I don't know if indispensable is the right word, but very important to a lot of different people in our lives because we're both in our 50s. We're both in our early 50s. So we're kind of in that sweet spot where we have a ton of life experience, but we can still get around. We've still got our health. We haven't been impacted by some of the things that prevent you from living a full life as you age. And it's an interesting place to be. Obviously, I've never been here before, and you do the best you can. But I think the way you do that is by taking it on and acknowledging it, right, and going towards it, not running away from it. That's what I kind of tell people. Like Marcus Aurelius said, right, the obstacle is the way. So whatever it is that's causing you problems, the only way to deal with it is to confront it, and you've got to go towards it, not away from it, and that can be hard to do.
Um, there are so many caveats that I want to connect to that. The first thing that I'll share is, right, what you're describing is the sandwich generation. And that's the name now that we've given to this place where a lot of us find us, and generations before have found themselves too. It's just, again, culturally, it was addressed differently, where we have our parents that we are taking care of. Same situation. I just lost my dad a year and a half ago, in his mid 70s, which felt too young.
Mm.
Me, the older I get, the more I'm like, oh, that's not that old. And that felt very different 10, 15, 20 years ago. But the closer that you get to the midpoint of a life, the more that you really understand that. And then again, we're caring for a younger generation, right? We're smack dab in the middle of that. And I'm at a place in my life where I can still picture myself as a teenager, but I'm about to have my bonus daughter, my husband's daughter is about to have a daughter. And so there's multiple generations. And again, I feel like I'm still learning so much. How do I have enough to pass to her, to pass to her? Like, but to your point, we do have so much knowledge and so much information to share. The other connection that I want to make to that, and the conversation that I hope that you will go back to with your wife, because one of the most powerful things that happened in my relationship and in this experience was a role shift where I married one of the toughest fucking guys I know, right? He's the salt of the earth. He has the work ethic of, I mean, a horse. Like he's so powerful. But cancer took that away, and
Mm.
he has had to switch his identity and find himself differently because I identify as the breadwinner, the caregiver, the person taking it on. And as much as he contributes and as much as he is still the husband, the man, the giver, the all of those things, like that's not something we ever expected to happen when we took those vows, right? Like
Mm. Yep.
that's not a shift that you intend to go through, and navigating that, that means you have to sit and have really tough conversations. Who are you now? How do we be these people together? Like who are these new people? And that you've been married long enough to know you do that on a regular basis anyways, but those huge shifts are called out when you have to face loss, grief, change. And again, that happens when my husband lost his mom early in our relationship. I didn't honor it the way that I know now I could have after I lost my dad. Like
Mm.
losing a parent, when you finally lose a parent, you understand how powerful that is. And then when we talk about mortality and death on a day-to-day basis, then you start thinking like, oh my gosh, I didn't let you grieve the way that you probably could have grieved. You still need time. And that was a decade ago, but grief doesn't leave. That's the thing. You have to still keep talking about what loss means, because for most people, loss means that you still want to be recognized, right? You still want your name to be said. You want a legacy. Most people want a legacy.
Mm.
Uh, and that's pretty tough to define and to leave and to figure out how to do. That's not just a will and like a trust, you know?
Yeah, it's funny you bring up legacy. I was a guest on a podcast several months ago, and that was one of the questions that I was asked. And they're great guys. They're out in Arizona. It's called Live Your Aim, and they talk about similar things that we talk about. Two guys that have that podcast were guests on Salty Ginger Talk as well. And one of the questions they asked me is, "What do you want your legacy to be?" And I said, I've never really thought about it. And then to be asked that point blank, when I thought about it, what I really want to be known for is being a good husband and a good father. Like that's really important to me. The rest of it, I don't really give a shit. Like I really don't. And I think it's because I knew long ago, well, I guess two things. One, I was born without the give a fuck gene. So like I've been this way my whole life, even as a kid. It's not that I didn't feel peer pressure and that I didn't want people to like me and I didn't want to be popular because I did. but I didn't lose sleep over it, and I didn't change who I was to try to chase it. It was either good enough or it wasn't. And so I'm fortunate that I kind of came out of the box wired that way. And that's gotten more pronounced the older I've gotten and the more I've gone through life and said, you know what? Nobody's got this shit figured out. Even the people that we look at and go, man, that guy or that gal's got it all figured out. Wrong, not true in any way, shape, or form. So why do I care what they think? And then the other part of it is 100 years from now, we're all going to be dead. No one's going to know anything about what we did. And why am I worried about a bunch of people that I don't even know, that don't even know me? That why do I care what they think? I don't. I really don't. But what I do care about is the people who knew me. And it's really important to me that I did a good job for them. And so that was how I answered that question on legacy. I want to be known as a good dad and a good husband. Like, that's what I want my legacy to be. Like, we always knew that he had our backs. We always knew that he would take care of us. We always knew that we could count on him when the chips were down and the stakes are high. Like, that's the thing that's important to me. That's what I want my legacy to be. Um,
It, that you were the most productive person on your line, or that you told the most widgy woos, or like it's not that, because that's what the common kind of culture and that's what the common conversation is, right? It's
yeah,
productivity, and it's what you make, and what I have learned and what you're describing is what is actually important, which is our tribe, our people, those connections, right? It's learning how to put family first, however you define it, whomever those people are, but putting family first no matter what. You are going to be more successful if you do that. That's it. You're just going
yeah.
to be a better person.
Yep, totally agree. Before we get deep into your story with your husband and his
Yeah.
cancer diagnosis and what that's been like, let's talk a little bit about you. You do several things. So you've got your regular job, but you also have a coaching gig. You also have a speaking gig. You've also written a book or two. And I'd like to talk a little bit about those and then pivot back to, because I think once we go down the road about your, like, if that's going to be both a long conversation and anything we talk about afterwards is going to pale in comparison. So I don't want it to seem like I'm minimizing it. I'm doing the exact opposite. I want to kind of save the most important thing for last. But let's talk a little bit about the things you're working on now, because I watched to prepare. Like, I'd be a bad host if I just got on here and say, "Hey, tell me about yourself, Jenna." You do some great videos on Instagram, and I watched a bunch of those ahead of our episode. And I just love to hear kind of about how you approach that business and what you work with people on in their day-to-day lives.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I mean, my work, my life, my career, I guess my passion has really just been focused on helping people have a voice in spaces where they don't. And so my day-to-day again is really around wellness and well-being, mental health, and a lot of that has been opening the space for the conversation. And again, having conversations about workplace wellness, and those were taboo conversations pre-pandemic, right? Like COVID shook our little snow globe up and really changed a lot of the dynamic of not just what we're talking about, but why we're talking about the things that we're talking about. And I mean, like, counterculture these days is like homesteading. Like, that's so fascinating to me, right? Like, people want to get back to this like simple life. And again, I think that a conversation like we're having is exactly that. It's the full circle of what's really important, which is just connecting as humans and finding those human similarities, the things that we have in common with each other. So a lot of my work has been focused on that. In defining it, kind of being an executive coach, and having, speaker gigs and doing things like these podcasts. Again, it's really about me having a voice so that hopefully other people find theirs, and they have those conversations around the dinner table, or they talk to their boss the next day, and they feel like they're able to self-disclose or share something that they weren't previously able to, that maybe helps them get an accommodation at work, or maybe helps their manager leader understand, why they're so exhausted all the time. And um, I think the other part of it is, and one of the reasons that drew me to really kind of defining a business or a place to have these conversations, and to think about, so the website is Be Selfist, and I added the ist because we spend a lot of time thinking about, am I being too selfish, or let me be selfless. And IST means that we are like investing something in ourselves, that it's an
Mm.
essential belief. And we should have that in ourselves. We should put self first, because that is what makes us the best father, the best husband, the best wife, caregiver, widget seller, whatever it is that you want to pursue. And so I don't think that we give ourselves the opportunity. Your, like, don't give a fuck attitude is something that a lot of people are seeking, because most people are driven or motivated by fear and avoidance
Mm.
and resisting the conflict, and like you said, burying our head in the sand, especially when we have the tough shit to talk about. Um, and it's a lot easier to hide behind technology, a phone, a screen, chat GPT, right? Like, people have nicknames for their AI assistant now because they've developed like relationships with it. Um, that's how much we want to connect. And in the little bit of time that we do have on this earth, and the more again that I get close to kind of that mid part of life where you start reflecting a lot more and thinking about the first half and what the second half could potentially be, you realize what's important, like you said, where you need to invest your time, and that whatever time is given to us, like, let's enjoy it. Let's have purpose in it. Let's not waste it.
Yeah, and just to I don't know what the right word is, but to tag on to that, I think when people hear someone say let's enjoy it, their mind goes to um like not caring, not trying, not putting effort in, not at all, not at all what anyone is saying. What we're saying is you want to be purposeful about how you grind, right? And maybe grind isn't the right word, but those of us that want to live a purposeful and meaningful life, we care. We're going to work hard at something. Why don't we choose the things that we work hard at? Why shouldn't we be really intentional about the things we work hard at? And what Jenna's saying is one of those things needs to be you. One of those
Yes.
things needs to be your mental health, your physical health, your emotional well-being. Because if you truly want to make an impact and you truly want to be a great support system for the people in your life, you can't do it if you're broken or if you're not functioning on all cylinders, right? So that sounds like what you do a lot in your coaching business and in your counseling and all the work that you do. So when you talked earlier about the special education, the work you did, it sounds like you've spent most of your career either being a conduit to help people communicate with each other or making it okay to have conversations that people don't feel okay about having. Is that the right way to think about it?
That's it. It's like giving permission to people to just fall apart, right? Like
Hmm.
to have those to have those moments to be able to break down first so that you can grow through it, so that you can learn from it. I think one of the things is we created this kind of overtly kind culture where we weren't allowed to say things that could hurt somebody's feelings. The
Hey, you're
reality,
overweight. You need to lose some weight.
right?
It's unhealthy, right?
Hearing conversations are sometimes hurtful. Like, that's the real, like, my husband has said some of the meanest things to me, but like, man, has that motivated change in me, because I trust him. I believe that he wants the best for me. So if he's willing to be that honest, then shit, I better do something, and vice versa. And again, like we don't do that at work. Oh my gosh. If you can help people build that, like that's what I want to do. I want to help people build the places where we can do this, have these conversations, be real, sit at the dinner table and say, you know what? I fucked up. I need to do better. Sit across a Zoom call and say, you know what? Next time I know I can be better because I learned from this. Um, yeah, eat crow, all those cliches.
Yeah, no, totally. It's interesting because our family has kind of always functioned that way. And I always say that, our family is not for the faint of heart. So, like, you've got full support, but you've also got a bunch of people that are willing to go, hey, that's bullshit. And we're not going to allow that to happen. Right. So, we all now see the problem is my wife and I screwed up. We actually raised really smart and productive boys. And now I'm getting all this shit that I told them thrown back at me. They'll do it to me. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. What is this? I was
I did
supposed to
too
be at the top.
well.
Yeah, right. I was supposed to be at the top of the pecking order here. What the hell's going on? Everyone's coming at me, and they're not
Yeah.
wrong, by the way, because like you had talked about, you have to confront it. So like one of my biggest challenges has always been my temper. So like I know it's hard to tell by looking at me, but I'm super Irish, and I don't drink, but I'm willing to fight. Like if you want to go to the parking lot, I'm your guy. Let's go. It's funny you talked about your husband being tough. That's how I'm described by most people that know me. Like Joe's got an edge to him. He's a tough guy. And I have a response, like I'm wired that way. That's how my natural inclination is to let's go, right? That's how I am. But that does not absolve me of learning how to be that way in a way that's acceptable to other people, that's constructive to other people, and not destructive to other people. And I have not always been successful at that. I have fucked that up a lot in my life. But I don't get to just abdicate. Or one of the things that drives me nuts when people say that's just the way I am. No, that's the way you're choosing to be. You might have a harder time than other people in particular situations, because I know I do. But that doesn't give me a free pass. It doesn't mean I'm just okay. Just blow up, light everybody up, hurt their feelings, make them feel like shit, and then you can just go back and apologize. It'll all be cool after that. Not how it works, right?
No, and what you're really describing is what I would call the difference between having a growth mindset and a fixed mindset, or right, like feeling like a victim all of the time, or feeling like you have some power and control, right? The free will to make the decision, whether the path is already laid in front of you or not. And again, I think a lot of people in a very avoidant, characteristic, it's a lot easier to just not deal with it and to have that really fixed mindset. It's everybody else's problem. I can blame everybody else. I don't need to fix anything about myself. And again, I think the more that you confront the reality of life and humanity, again, our collection of each other, the more you realize, yeah, it does actually matter. And I need to take, like you said, I need to take care of me so that I am the best at taking care of the people around me, that little group of people that I know that I need to take care of. And in the mental health world, they call it like putting on your mask first. And we describe it as mental flossing, right? So the day to day, it's just like going to the gym, like do the practice, take the time, meditate, take deep breaths, go for walks. I know it all sounds like fluffy bullshit all the time. Every time I say it to people, I'm like, take some deep breaths. But it's real that there's not just science behind it and metaphysics. And I mean, you can go at the cellular level, you can biohack it, whatever you want to do. The reality is, like, we are wired for stress and we take on so much. And this is such a fast paced, moving world. And we're not the best thing for us to do is to find the calm and peace and again to make those connections. And so I think a lot of my work and a lot of what I want to continue to do is help us find all of the similarities, all of the connections that we have. unfortunately, a big one is having conversations about cancer, about death, because it is something that a lot of us face. A lot of us have to sit around dementia, Alzheimer's. Again, the older the generations before us get, the more that we confront those topics. Just chronic illness in general, COVID. Like, who didn't have conversations about death and dying around COVID? Nobody was prepared for those conversations. That was a global trauma that people experienced. And like people are still like, meh, don't worry about it. We don't need to talk about it. It happened. It was a thing. That was more than a thing. Like, and there are long-lasting impacts from those things that we should be talking about and have real conversations about.
Yep. What are some of the, because I loved the thing I love the most about your videos is you're giving real tips, not here's what you should do. You're actually telling people here's how you can do it when you're in those situations. So maybe pick your top three when someone's feeling stressed, when someone needs to have a difficult conversation, when someone feels overwhelmed, whatever the situation is. What are your top three coping mechanisms that you coach people on when you're working with them?
Oh, absolutely. So a couple, again, kind of obvious choices are just the relaxation techniques, somatic techniques, which are things like helping to release your vagus nerve, which is part of what sits down at the base of your neck, and kind of understanding how your brain works, how emotion works. And I'm a person who was built on fear. So I was a person who did try to avoid a lot of things and confronts my fear on a regular basis. And I think that's what has made me a strong person is I loved what you said earlier, right? Like the obstacle is the way. Like
Mm.
go over it, go through it, go around it. Like there's you don't have a choice. Otherwise, you're just sitting there. There's an old video of a guy like trying to go up a down escalator and like complaining the whole time. And like that's what I think of. Those people that just like are, I don't know, like walking into a wall. Like, no, you have to live. So here, the basics, right? Those somatic techniques, release, deep breathing. You can do box breathing, which is literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like all those little techniques really do help us to um, produce more oxygen in our brain, fuel ourselves, feel a little bit better. Go out, get sunshine. Like you said, literally, sunshine really does heal things. Vitamin D is incredibly good for us. It helps to mitigate the effects of depression and especially seasonal depression if you're in those areas. So, all of that fluffy stuff, hug a tree, like literally take your shoes off, like all of that stuff is real and it works. So do those things. Um, the other like real and logistic things that I'll say is um, join support groups, go to therapy, come to coaches like me, find people who have similar experiences or you can have trusted conversations with. Because if you're just bottling it up or if you're not um, finding other people who you can feel validated by or that you can get additional information through, you are going to feel isolated, and isolation is a killer. And one of the first things that I tried to learn and understand in this situation is caregivers often die before the people they're taking care of.
Mm.
That's a really hard statistic in reality, but that's
Wow.
the truth. Yeah, because they apply so much pressure to themselves that they end up suffering from chronic disease, chronic illness, exacerbating things like heart attacks, having strokes. Um, and like I don't I can't do that. Like I would be remiss to not take care of myself. And then I mean, like I face this imposter syndrome on a regular basis because I'm also out here like telling everybody else to take care of themselves. And it's really not easy to do. It's not easy to take care of yourself. It's not easy to put yourself first. It's not, especially when you feel responsible for somebody else. Um, and so another powerful and important thing I think people can do is, especially if you are fully employed or if you're self-employed, know your rights, know your policies, know your benefits, like know what's available to you and take advantage of it. Um, like today's a perfect example. Today is a Friday. Today is a Friday that in my household we call chemo day. Every 3 weeks, my husband has a chemo treatment. It makes him feel sick. It is stressful for him. It's not like a traditional, like 4 or 5 hours. It's an injection he gets. Either way, I mean, it's poison. And so his body has to recover from it. And so it's a typical working Friday for me. But outside of my house, all the shades are drawn. It's calm and cool out there. I'm trying to keep it, as like carefree as possible. I will go check on him the minute that this conversation is done to make sure that he's okay. But like, I I napped with him earlier, like text work, hey, gonna take a longer lunch today. Because
Mm,
again, I don't know if that's the last nap I ever get. I don't know if that's the last 5 minutes that I'll ever spend. So what's more important to me on a day like today?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and that's such well, it's such a difficult perspective for people to acknowledge, but it's the truth. Like, it is
yep,
what it is. It's the situation you're in, and that was actually where you were like reading my mind because I was going to pivot. Like, it's not just you saying these things. You've been tested on how to apply these things over the last 10 years. So, if you wouldn't mind, can you kind of walk the listeners through like how this started, when you got the call, when you found out, and kind of walk us through that progression and some of the things that you've learned and or think are important for us to talk about?
wow, yeah. So what's so interesting to me is when I started talking about kind of building a website and having conversations and more of a coaching platform and focusing more on this part of my story and journey, it had been a really long time since I'd really looked back and remembered what that was, what the beginning of it was, because it becomes day to day. It's just your business. Um, and so and so the genesis is what was really interesting, and again, when I say that it's a rare terminal cancer, it's important because it led to a lot of early misdiagnosis and a lot of complications early on. So, um, like I said, my husband's a tough guy. He worked in the auto industry, and he had a work injury that resulted in a traumatic brain injury at one point. And that, again, I was an expert in mental health diagnoses, and like I thought I understood traumatic brain injury. Um, we learned a lot through that experience, and he regained full recovery. Like he did really well in that recovery journey. But part of what happened was there were some behavioral changes. His personality just shifted, and we just kept saying it's a result of this work injury. Like it's the work injury, like that's what happens.
Mm.
Um, but this something was just off. And he was having symptoms that were physiological, and he was seeing doctors for the brain injury. We were trying to figure out what was happening with this, and it was a coincidental like happenstance that his neurologist and his endocrinologist connected in a hallway one day when he happened to have been experiencing what they call a flush, which is like a reddening, just like somebody else might experience, but it's hormonally driven. And those two doctors said, "Oh my gosh, it's happening right now. It might be this." We didn't really know that that conversation was taking place out in the hallway, but a week later, we got called into his primary care doctor, who was an older gentleman, late 70s, maybe early 80s. He came into the office, sat down at his table, opened a manila folder, looked at my husband, and said, "Yeah, so you have cancer." Closed the manila folder, stood up, and walked out of the room.
Holy moly.
And like we exited, like at that moment, you just like, okay, like that happened, you're in shock. You're like, okay, we'll figure it out. Like we'll figure more out. From his perspective, I completely understand. Like, how could you ever want to say that to somebody? How could you ever want to give that news to somebody? And that was not his day to day. He wasn't like an oncologist or a specialist or anything. He was a primary care doctor, probably like, well, literally, he was a couple years away from retirement at that time. Um, but that resulted in us having to find specialists and oncologists and navigate this journey of all of these healthcare professionals that I never even knew existed. I had no idea that I would be interacting with this level of knowledge and expertise that I didn't know that I would have to gain and have. If I could show you, like I have multiple 3-inch binders that are organized by bills, appointments, diagnoses, radiology. Like in the beginning, it was like a full-time job to find the care that was even needed. Um, and I say all of that because we weren't telling people what happened at that point. So you're just
Mm.
behind the scenes, I was working for a school district at that time. He had a full-time job. Um, since then, he's medically retired. And that's just as a result, like he can physically do a lot of the work, but days like this, what are you gonna do? Call your tough boss and be like, sorry, I need to take a nap. I don't feel good today. No, you can't do that when you're working, commission or piece rate or every hour that you there, you need to be making money. I've always been lucky to have salaried roles where, I have a little more luxury and a little more flexibility. Um, so there's just been so much having to learn how to navigate a healthcare system that isn't built for you. It's not there to help you. To talk to doctors who don't always have all the time for you. Um, but there are but there are things that you can do, right? So like joining those support groups, like, listen, I'm on Facebook because the people on Facebook that are in the groups for this type of cancer have taught me so fucking much about this type of cancer because we become detectives. Like we are like little FBI agents. Oh, this was the diagnosis. This is what it said. And we're all helping each other because like you don't want to feel you're alone. You never want to feel like you're alone in anything.
Yeah.
Um, so I really think that I guess trusting yourself. I guess one of the best pieces of advice that I can give to anybody, like there's this really stupid meme out there that says like you don't know how strong you are until you have to be strong. Well, there you go. Like you don't know that you can do all of this shit until you have to do it. And you do it. You either do it or you give up. And that's a whole nother conversation about death, dying, and grief. Like we can have that too. You can give up. We can talk about that. But like that's not our human instinct. We don't do that. We keep powering through. So it's important. What I hope I can do is help people do it in a healthy way because I learned some hard lessons. Um, and I learned some tips and some tricks, and people taught me some things, and like I want to pay it forward.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So you get this cancer diagnosis.
Mm.
Clearly, anyone that hears the word cancer understands there's a seriousness to that diagnosis. How did you get to the point to where you learned it was terminal and it was this rare one, and then figure out what it was you could do about it? Because you said you've been dealing with this. This happened 10 years ago. So like this
Yeah.
has been going on a long time for you guys.
Yeah, and like we've had 3 going away parties in that time. Like we've organized family and friends and had vacations and gone through these rituals because we thought at each point like this is an end. Like I said, I have a tough guy. He's a fighter. um, and
For
I'm very
sure.
blessed. Yes, I'm very blessed by it. Like he's beating all of the odds. So part of what happened is I don't know. When 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 chaos hits my life, I go into business mode. When challenge happens, like I am naturally and normally such an emotional person, but when shit hits the fan, I go into business mode. And that's really what I did. I started to try to find what does my insurance cover? What kind of coverage do I have? Where can I go? Who are the specialists? Who knows about this? Um, so the rest of the diagnosis really came in kind of the paperwork and filtering through, you log into the portal and you download what the notes say and you start figuring out more and more. And um, we ended up finding specialists, but when I say that it was hard to just find somebody that took my insurance in the beginning, it was days of phone calls and I remember my office mate at the time, who's still a good friend of mine, the day that I finally called somebody who not only would take our insurance, but literally when I called this office, when this woman picked up the phone and I just said, this is the situation, here's the insurance, here's the diagnosis, here's what I'm trying to do, here's what needs to happen. On the other end of the line, she just said, ma'am, don't worry about anything. We've got you. I'm going to take care of you. We're going to take care of you from here on out. Still makes me want to cry. I know that I cried when she said that to me. My office mate like walked over to me afterwards and hugged me. And that was literally just to find like a doctor who would start having conversations about this. Once we found that has all that we he has remained with that doctor in that practice this entire time because of that conversation. Now, she's
Sure.
not the specialist. The other thing is like we are lucky because we are in an area where we have Moffitt Cancer Center, which is a very large um, cancer hospital organization. But they have a lot of specializations, and one of the world's specialists in this cancer happens to be there. And so it's a couple hours away for us. But like not everybody has access to that. Now, the frightening thing is there are cancer centers in every metropolis and most rural and urban places now because it's so common of a diagnosis. But part of it was really just learning how to like navigate a system and use the resources that are available. So one of the first things that happened to us is the medication, the treatment that he takes is when he first started taking it about 10 years ago, it was about $35,000 a shot. That was every 4 weeks at the time. Right? Do you think insurance wants to cover
Good
$35,000
Lord.
a
Yeah.
shot every 4 weeks? Of course not. So we would get a bill in the mail and I would open it and literally just go like, are you kidding me, right? Like you can't expect me to pay this. Um, eh, but they did. They do. They do expect you to pay it. It's like,
Turns out
um,
that's real.
yeah, you can laugh all you want, but they do, and they'll like send you to collections, and you can't like just like negotiate and say like, well, I'll offer you this much. There was a day when you could do that, but that's not the way that the health insurance system works anymore. And so at one point, we found this amazing person called an oncology financial advocate. Did I know that there was a person out there in this world that existed whose primary job is to help people navigate the financial responsibilities of oncology and cancer diagnoses? No. But somehow divinely through networks, this person and I were able to connect. And she helped us navigate through, they have um, deductible plans and prepay plan. There are all kinds of plans out there that are offered that help you mitigate the costs. And so she was able to help us do that. Now, I still get the random, like $65,000 bill that I'll laugh at every once in a while and go, let's reprocess this through insurance. But the caveat to that is in my day-to-day job at a large organization, I also work to support our benefits program and our wellness program. So I have insight directly into how we pay for insurance from an organizational standpoint. And so I'm able, like, I mean, I literally can see sometimes, like, oh, yeah, that's what it cost my husband at the doctor last month. Like,
Mm,
and this is what the company paid, and this is what insurance paid, and this is what I paid. Um, and it's a lot. It is hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm not the only person in a large organization who has a terminal cancer diagnosis. That's my spouse. It's not even me that the company is paying for. But there are NICU babies. There are people with hemophilia. There are people who are recovering addicts. Like, there's a lot of money in taking care of people. And I don't think that we understand. I don't think that a lot of people understand that from a business perspective.
yeah.
And you mentioned in the beginning, you're a business owner. Like, there's a cost to taking care of people. Um, and so I'm incredibly grateful that I have a company and an organization that helps to take care of me so that I can help to take care of people. But like, it's not easy. It's again, it's a whole world I did not know, that has been uncovered for me that I'm grateful to understand. I hope I can help other people understand, but um, it's just fascinating. It's a conglomerate. It's a huge industry.
Yeah, it's you're right. I have participated in multiple negotiations, whatever you want to call them, on our health insurance. And it's intentionally set up to be difficult to navigate so that you're at a disadvantage when you do it. I always tell, like, I just straight up tell brokers and salespeople and whatever, don't use a fucking acronym when you talk to me. Don't ever use I don't want to hear an acronym out of your mouth. Say the whole name out loud because I don't
Sure.
know what. Yeah, exactly. Right. I don't know what PSA means, or I don't know what FHG means, or XYZ. Like, you might know, but I don't. So don't use those words with me because I'm not going to sign up for anything I don't understand. And until I understand it fully, I'm going to keep asking you the same questions. Um, so yeah, it's that aspect of it is very frustrating because we have allowed, at least in the United States, we have allowed insurance companies a greatly outsized role and say in medical treatment for people. It's bullshit what we've done.
It's bananas. And so like when I get one of those bills, it's usually because insurance has rejected like the treatment. And it's like, well, one, you've been taking care of it. So like you don't just get to randomly reject it this one
Yeah.
time, but they do. And you have to fight it. And it feels like a system that isn't there to take care of you, but at the same time, it's the system that is there. And so um you can find ways to kind of navigate your way through it and find places of sanity and, and safety.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, but it's definitely been a learning. It's definitely been a learning experience. And again, things that I never thought that I would be teaching others, sharing with others, even just talking about. And part of it, truthfully, Joe, was just getting permission from my husband. Like, can I tell this story now? Like, can we talk about this? Because it's not even my story all of the time, right? Like, I'm impacted by it. I have a role in it, but I don't live it the same way that he does every day either,
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah. How do we talk about death? What's the approach? Like, how do we do it? Because it's so taboo and it's so like, I get it. Like, it's the final thing. Totally understand. I'm not trying to diminish it, but how do we do it?
Yeah. Here's my best example. Almost every time that I say to somebody, and again, it's business for me. Most of the time, if I'm mentioning or telling somebody that my husband has a rare terminal cancer, it's because there's a necessity to it, or like I need somebody to know it because it benefits me in some way.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I don't normally talk about it or let people know. But the most common response when I tell somebody that is, can you guess? Like every time I say, my husband has a rare terminal cancer, everybody says, oh, I'm
I'm
so
sorry.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't, why? The fuck are you sorry for? You don't even know me. Like, what? Don't feel sorry for me. He doesn't want pity. I don't want pity. Like, it's so fascinating to me that that is everybody's immediate response. And I understand why. I get it. I get it. I have said it to other people when they have
Mm.
expressed like a trauma to me. Like I understand it. I don't want to hear that you're sorry. What I would rather hear is thank you for sharing. I appreciate you opening up. Um, Sometimes it's okay if you even tell me about your Aunt Susan's cousin's favorite, niece, but don't tell me what cured them. Like, never tell me. Because if you don't think in this 10 years that we haven't tried every drink, mushroom, pill, treatment, surgery, like, please. We've gone deep, we've tried lots of things. That doesn't mean that I'm not willing to try more, but like I don't need to hear about what cured somebody else.
Yeah.
Um, because we're not, this isn't like a ring the bell cancer. This isn't like I know there's an end. We know there's an end to this. And so I think it's just like letting me be able to say that and not feeling bad about it. Like, I'm smiling. It's okay. It's okay. You don't have to feel sorry for us. That's a hard one. That's really tough for people. And so I think it's like grow a library, have stuff in your toolbox, have the other things to say, practice saying those things, get used to that because you don't know when you're going to be in the doctor's office someday too. And you might have to hold on to somebody's hand and not say, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I always, in those situations, I always say, man, that's rough.
Yeah.
Um, that's you like, I just acknowledge that that's a really shitty situation. That really sucks.
Yep. Yeah. And that's it. Um, I think the other best thing is a lot of people ask like, what can I do to help? Can I help? Don't ask because I don't know what I need. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, sure, I'm sure there's stuff you can do. Send me food, Venmo me money, send me a card. Like just do the thing. Do the thing. That's what I have found myself doing more and more now when somebody expresses a tragedy to me. Um, I I have a meal delivery service. Every like 10 boxes of it, I get an extra one. If somebody tells me a tragedy, I email them and say, you have a free box of food coming. Don't worry about dinner for the next few nights. That's what people need. In tragedy, people just need you to take care of this stuff. Don't make somebody fucking think, make decisions, have ideas. Oh my gosh. Just
Yeah.
do the be helpful. Be the tribe, be the community. That's it.
Could you could you send me a list of things that you would find helpful so I can feel better about myself after this conversation?
Send the ice cream, the box of wine, like you know the person, like do the thing. Um, Listen, here's an example. When my dad passed away, I was an absolute again, I thought I understood grief. But when I got that call that my dad passed away, that was the realest loss that I had experienced. That was the closest just DNA break that I had ever had. And it was devastating. And my husband couldn't even console me. What did he do? He called my best friend and he said, just come over, keep your pajamas on, and just get in bed with her. Don't say a word. And I was like, I don't want my best friend to come. I don't want anybody to come over. Don't come over. And do you know that when she crawled into that bed and just laid there with me, that was the best, like, that was exactly what I needed.
Mm.
No words. She didn't do anything. She didn't have to do anything. And he knew he couldn't be that person in the moment. He just like he knew who the person was. Like do that shit.
So I find that so interesting. We haven't aired this episode yet, but we had just a really humble, down to earth, interesting guy that came on, and he lost his son, who was 16 years old, in a drunk driving accident.
Oh,
And he kind of walked. We asked a lot of similar questions because, like, he's so And you talked about earlier, I really appreciate your willingness to come on here and talk about these subjects and your own personal experience with them with our audience because they can learn so much from it. And we appreciate you trusting us enough to have a valuable conversation. And so I never let that go without being unsaid. And when we had him on, we asked those questions like, when we find ourselves in situations trying to console someone or trying to be helpful, because a lot of times people will avoid it because they don't know what to do. So they don't want to be uncomfortable. So they avoid it. That's not the right approach, clearly. But what is right, like you said, I'm so sorry. Well, fuck you. I don't like good for you. You're sorry. That doesn't change anything. Like, I get it. And you're not trying to make someone feel bad. It's just the reality of the situation. Sorry doesn't help or change anything. He said the same exact thing. He said, just be there, just be in their presence.
Yep.
And he said, that usually is enough. And you'll figure out, is it a walk? Is it going out for a meal? Is it whatever, reading a story, watching a movie? It doesn't matter as long as you're there. He said, that is the best thing I can tell people to do in those situations.
Think about it logically, just in the most logical perspective. You just lost something. So, what is the best thing to have presence, right? Have something, right? Like it just makes negative, positive, light, dark, like it all just makes so much sense when you think about it logically. And that's why again, so many cultures sit with death, sit in death, talk with each other about it. Here's another example. Here's a lived experience and not something again that I have thought about in a long time, but when my husband had that brain injury at work, he was helivac. Like it was serious.
Hmm.
Um, when the helicopter, I watched the helicopter, I drove it. I won't even tell you how many miles per hour I was going. Um, I made it to that hospital by the time that helicopter landed. I watched the helicopter land on the top. And I just told my husband this story the other day because I had never told him, but I was on the phone with my mom when I drove into the parking garage and I opened the car door and I said, Mom, I can't get out of the car. And she was like, No, honey, you can do this. Like it's okay. And I said, No, Mom, like literally my legs, I can't feel my legs. I can't move.
Hmm.
And I don't remember what she said, but she gave me some strength and I literally like picked my legs up and moved them out. And I walked to the doors and I remember walking up to the big glass doors and there was somebody right there. And that person walked up to me and just put a hand on my shoulder and guided me. Still, no words have been said. I'm feeble, like shaking, weak. I have no idea what to expect. And this gentleman walks me over, just a hand on my shoulder, sits me down in a row of chairs, still hasn't said anything to me. I'm crying, probably a minute or two, which is an eternity, right? When there's complete silence and you're terrified, goes by. And he eventually says, you'll see him soon. He's okay. You'll see him soon. I did not know at the time that that was a chaplain. And I did not know in my life why chaplains greet you at the door of a hospital.
Hmm.
They don't greet you there because they're the welcoming committee. They greet you
Right.
there because somebody has potentially passed. My
Yeah.
husband died twice in that helicopter on the way to that hospital. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that for like a year afterwards. But what I learned from that and the grace of not knowing the serious is that is how you show up. He didn't need a single word. I didn't need to know why he was there, who he was. His presence was what was so powerful. And it's so interesting because in the corporate world, in organizations, we talk about authenticity, we talk about showing up, we talk about like executive presence and all of this. It's such BS because presence is presence is so much deeper and so much more meaningful and so much more connected. Like it's it's just you being it's just your energy being needed and being the medicine in the moment. And that's what you can do for people. And you can know that you might not be the person who is that medicine in the moment, right? Like um but that's powerful in our connections and I think that's why we build those deep trusting relationships, and why we go to faith, right? Like I was not a faithful spiritual person in those moments before. I am much more deeply spiritual and faithful the older that I get and the more that I learn in life. And
Mm,
the more life teaches me.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, so you had talked about it earlier, like, yeah, it sucks, but you know how this ends. Have you thought about or tried to plan at all for what your life looks like when that time comes?
So one of the hardest things to live with is what I call pre-grief. And that's the experience as a caregiver where you basically prepare your life for this person's loss and you live like they're gone. And it's so crappy. It robs you of every moment that you have to actually live your life with the person. And so
Mm,
you have to be really careful. You have to be really careful to not pre-grieve so much. You can do it, like, right? You get a diagnosis, you have to go through the grieve of the loss of what your expected life is. And again, those role changes and financial changes and all of the things that accompany that. That's a grief cycle that you have to go through, but you can't get stuck in it. That crappy Tim McGraw song, Live Like You're Dying. Like, I mean, I bawl like a baby when that song comes on every time because it just hits the feels because you're like, yeah, Tim McGraw, yes, like ride the bull, like you've only got 8 seconds. Like you forget to do those things because you are so prepared. And when I say that I have lived in fear, like that's what caregiving was for me for so long. It was anticipating death and it was trying to avoid it at all costs. And well, we can't go here and do that because this might happen and be careful about this and don't go. And that took a lot of time and energy away from me, and that has been one of the things that I really want to help people understand is like just don't just don't grieve when the grief happens. And honestly, my husband is so good at it. Like he's a reactor. He reacts. Like shit happens, he responds. He's not afraid of the shit happening. He just
mm.
knows when it happens, he'll figure it out. Me, I am a avoid. Like you can prepare for everything, and that's not how life happens. And so you have to let go of it. Um, you have to learn or help each other, just be in the moment, right? You asked about what's one technique you can do. Mindfulness, right? It's one of those frou hippie things that, but be mindful. Live in the moment. Don't worry about what happened yesterday. Don't think about what's going to happen tomorrow. Be prepared. You can be prepared. I was a Girl Scout, be a Boy Scout. Like, think about all of the scenarios, but like, don't drown in that. Don't drown in it. It's such a thief. It's such a thief of your joy, your time. Um, you'll have opportunities to grieve. The other thing I'll say is say the stuff you want to say. Say it. Like there are so many conversations I have with my dad, even though he's no longer with me. But I can't hear his response now. And what a shame. What a shame to not be able to hear his part of the story. When I had the time, I had the opportunities, but I was afraid. Don't be afraid. What are they going to do? Be mad? It's your fucking dad. Like, how mad? How mad is he going to be if you ask him, like, why did you make this decision in life? Like, what made you do this? They're just people. They're people. We're all just people. None of us have this figured out, like you said. So have the conversation. Ask the hard question. Just do it.
Yeah, well, and saying things or having conversations can be life changing. So, the way my wife and I, like I said, we've been together 33 years, and the way we met, I was dating a girl that for 3 years, two of them were long distance, because I was still playing baseball at the time, and she was still living where we lived, and she called me the day before I was supposed to come home and dumped me over the phone, and she should have. Like it was the relationship had run its course. She's a lady now, but she's a great gal. I have no ill will. She's an awesome human being. nothing bad to say about her. She was 100% right. The relationship had run its course. She had the guts to end it. I didn't. And so she did. And good for her. She did the right thing, 100%. So, of course, I was upset. It was a 3 year relationship, and we never ever talked about getting married. It wasn't like some life plan I had been wrecked. It's just, someone said, yeah, hit the bricks, it's not you anymore. You're not the guy. And so my friends came over. I drove, I was living in LA at the time, but drove back to Portland, Oregon, where I'm from. And I got home the next day. And so I met up with my then ex girlfriend at the time because I wanted to talk to her face to face. And when I realized that she had already moved on and she was kind of talking to me out of sympathy, I actually just got out of the car and walked home. And she said, "Well, I'll give you a ride." And I said, "Nope. Like, I don't need fucking sympathy. I don't need so you're not going to feel bad for me. Like, totally got it. Best of luck to you." And I literally walked home. And so my friends came over the next day and said, "Quit sitting here feeling sorry for yourself. Just come out with us." I met my wife that night, and she was a bit inebriated, and she climbed out of a car window at a traffic light to come talk to me. And so
That's
she
the
came up
one.
to me. Yeah, it's true story, and she doesn't like it, but it's absolute truth. And there was a lot of witnesses. And if you looked at me and my wife, you would say he had to have pursued her. That was not how it happened. I got some game. I'm telling you. I may not look like it now, but Jenna, before electricity, I was something else. I'm telling you, back in the day.
It
So,
was a crazy car, right?
yeah, exactly right. Yeah, exactly
I
right.
gotcha. I gotcha.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so we met each other when we were out just screwing around with our friends, and I asked her for her phone number so I could call her. And she thought about giving me a fake number, but she didn't. And so if she'd give me a fake number, we never would have talked to each other again. She gave me a real number, and here we are, 33 years, 3 kids, and a really full, awesome life. Which, look, we've had our share of shit go wrong in our life. We haven't had to deal with the seriousness that you're dealing with, but everybody's got problems in their life, and everyone's got real serious shit that's happened to them. But I am so much better and happier and fulfilled because things worked out between us, but we had the guts to take our shots, you know?
That's it.
And like you said, say it, say the thing, sing the song, ask the question, take the walk, do whatever it is. Don't sit and wait because you're not promised tomorrow. Like you just don't know, and may as well do it while you got the chance.
This is the best example of that. My husband and I went on a vacation. Gosh, it's a couple weeks now. I'm still trying to live in vacation mode. We went on a vacation, and it was the first time that he and I had gotten away together in a very long time, which I was exhilarated by, but I was also terrified because if it's just me and him, I feel more responsible if a medical emergency happens, something goes wrong, and travel can be a little difficult. So the day before, I was ridiculously anxious and I had an all day on site at work. So I was trying to like put on the smiley face and the work clothes and like, but I had a coworker who recognized like, you've got some anxiety. Randomly, like I didn't bring my passports with me, so I couldn't get checked into Southwest. So that gave like I was even more anxious and just I was filled with fear. Needless to say, we get to our vacation place and we're there planning some excursions. What are we going to do? And I looked at him and I said, "You know what? This is the only time in our life that we're going to do the thing that like I'm never going to do, but let's do the thing that I'm never going to do." And so we jumped out of a fucking plane. We went skydiving. And here's the thing. Do you think that I was worried about him going up in this tiny little plane and jumping out of it? No. I had stressed myself to a panic attack, just commercial air flight, but like diving out of a plane, I wasn't worried about him at all. Signing a paper where you literally say like you could die. I was like, "Sure, why not? Let's do
You bet.
this."
Sounds fun.
You know? But it was one of those just do the thing. Just do the thing. We're never going to be here, just you and I in this moment to do this with the ability like fuck it. And that's one of those things like again, nobody can take that conversation away from you. Nobody can take that walk away from you. Nobody can take that moment, that kiss, that hug, that handhold, that nap, that extra couple minutes, the diving out of a plane. Like nobody can take that away from you. So Do it. If it's important to you, do it. And if you are in a work experience where it's hard for you to manage, find a way to find a way, learn what your policies are, what your rights are, what you can do. Or find another place, honestly, like find where you can be healthy and happy because life is too fucking, it's too short. It's too short. And we don't sign a piece of paper every time we get in a car that says like you could die when you do this, but you can because you don't know. You just we don't know. So why live like why live being afraid of everything?
Yeah,
Like I'm a
it's
scared person and
yeah.
I did the scariest thing.
It's actually way more dangerous driving to the airport than getting on the plane. Like when you look at statistics, you got a way better chance of dying on the way to the airport than you do in the plane. Like it's not
I
even
know.
close.
And the funny thing is, like when we were on the way to like the skydiving experience, I kept telling myself, like, there's somebody that woke up this morning and they like ate a bowl of Cheerios and like a banana, and they're like, I gotta go to work today. And his job is just jumping out of a plane with people strapped to them. Like, that's his day job. Like, what am I freaked out for? Like, he just woke up and it's his day to day. Like, stop being afraid. And if it was my time, and what a great
Yeah.
fucking go. Like, there it is. It's done. And again, like it that was a moment for me to just worry about myself. I wasn't worried about my husband. I wasn't worried about his experience. I wasn't afraid of anything. I should have been afraid. That was that was when I should have, but such a great life lesson. And I'm not telling everybody to go out and skydive. Certainly but face some of your fears, like give yourself a moment today to call the person, text the person, think about that person, or have that moment, or just take a little bit of extra time, um because it could be so valuable. It could be valuable to that person. You have no idea what a connection could mean to that person in their moment.
Yeah, totally. So I want to shamelessly take advantage of your professional expertise on two subjects. I'm hoping you can give us your best tip on both mindfulness and gratitude so that people can learn to incorporate those in their everyday life. What's your best tip on each of those for the listeners?
Oh, so good. I'll start with gratitude, right? You can do all the basics, like have a gratitude journal. A lot of smartphones have built-in mechanisms to help you journal or track things. There's a lot of mental health apps that are available to help you focus on gratitude, but do the simple things like reframing your thoughts. It's so easy for us to get caught in negative thought cycles and patterns, and one of the things that helps me a lot is to know that emotions, like the chemical reaction in our brain, actually only lasts like 90 seconds. Most chemicals flush through our system in a minute to 90 seconds. Everything beyond that is us just perseverating on it and making it worse and thinking like, I'm still sad, I'm sad, I'm sad. No, sad left. Sad walked out a while ago. Like you are stuck in memories of sad and fears of what sad could feel like in the future. And like just it okay, 90 seconds, it's gone. I had the emotion. I'm sad. I felt sad. Now what? What can I do with that? Right? I can process that out. I can write, I can journal. So the piece that you can do to help with gratitude is to reframe those thoughts. I'm sad. I'm also grateful right now because I had that time with the person, right? Grief is an expression of love. We don't grieve loss that we don't care about, right? Like we
Mm,
lose shit all the time. And there's a lot of stuff that we lose and we're like, thank goodness that's gone. Grief is attached to care and a relationship that has been developed or formed. So I think it's important for us in gratitude to just honor, like, I'm sad because I loved, I had time with, I honored. How amazing. And there are so many people who say things like, I want people to celebrate my life at my funeral. I want there to be a party. Well, then have the party. Have a
mm.
party. Be joyful for their expression of their life, for what they feel they have passed into. I think it's what has drawn me more to faithfulness and spirituality, and is that thought of gratitude. I remember so many, like decades and decades ago, I watched a woman, um, like from the deep South, who was talking about her faith after losing her son, and she kept talking about being hopeful, and I was like, how can you be hopeful? Like, what you how can you be happy right now? And looking back on it, I get it. And it's beautiful, and that's how I want to be. I don't want to be sad and miserable and like walking around the turret of my castle because I'm so depressed. Like,
Mm.
I don't want to be a miserable widow at some point. And so I think the other part of gratitude, especially when you're facing things like death, dying, loss, is to have conversations about what do you want? What do you expect? What should life look like? Because the other reality is he could lose me,
Yep.
right? He could lose me. We've spent so much time focused on the potential of losing him, but again, I could go out and drive down the street and get hit by a bus. And um, defining that and talking about what you're happy about in each moment is important. Like, shit can be the worst, but there's still always something. Every bit of dark has light. That's why there's both, right? Yin and yang, all that stuff. It's all there for a reason.
Totally. But yeah, it's 100% true. I totally agree with you.
Absolutely. And I think that that's what plays into mindfulness, the other piece of that, which is again like the practice of being in the moment. And you can do the thing there's an activity with a raisin where you literally like go through all of your senses. But even in a panic attack, like that's what I do when I start to have a large expression of anxiety, or I start to have a panic attack, is you go through your senses. What can I feel right now? What can I smell right now? What can I hear right now? What can I see right now? What is happening right now? Because most of the time, there is not a bear chasing you, a plane landing on you. Like, there is not a reason for your body to be experiencing that level of fear. And so you have to like tell it that fear is fake, brain. But your brain neurologically doesn't know. That's the most fascinating thing. Right. So again, that's what happens with pre-grief is your brain is experiencing the loss as though it has really happened, because that's what the
Mm.
brain does. It is real to it. So don't make it go through that all of the time. I mean, oof, poor thing. Like, give it a rest. Let it
Oh my
just be
gosh.
that moment, right? Let it just smell the onions that are being cut. Let it just hear the soft music playing in the background. Let it just be in that moment.
I watched your video on the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So what is it? Five things you can see, four things you can touch.
Yeah, you can go in any order. Just go through your senses. Like, honestly, whatever it is, just be in that moment. So yeah, five things you can see, four things you can touch, three things you can hear, two things you can taste. Like, whatever it is in that moment, that will help you be grounded. You can also just do simple things like touch your fingers to each other. Just feel your body in that moment. Be grounded back into that reality. And here's how it gets practice in our day-to-day life again. It's through like a physical expression, holding his hand when he doesn't feel well, a hug. You know, a 30-second hug releases as much oxytocin as some people get when they are doing illicit drugs. Like, go for the hug, you know? Go for the
Cheaper.
hug. You're right. It's easy.
It's cheaper and it's legal in most instances,
Bingo.
assuming it's
And
a consensual hug.
That's it. Ask first. But there are definitely days when that's what I go in for. And he might be having a really tough day, but he knows 30 seconds of a hug is going to make like 3 hours of his life easier, most likely, right? So I think it's also just like understanding yourself and what your needs are. Like, in this moment, I need the quiet, or I need to express myself, or I need to just fucking cry. Um, and you might have to be able to say that to a manager or a boss at work too. Like, I need a day, I need a moment, I need to just cry right now and be okay.
Yep. Awesome. Those are such great tips. Thanks. Thanks for sharing them. Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I do on every podcast is ask the guest, is there anything I haven't asked you yet or a subject we haven't covered yet that's really important to you that you want to make sure you talk about with our audience while we're here? So, kind of open the floor. It's up to you.
Yeah, fantastic. Number one, it just started like downpouring outside. So what a great like physical release of like the expression of the earth in this moment. Like that's what grief is. Um,
Mm,
One other tip that I wanted to tell people that has really been a benefit in my life, and not something people think about, and it was really just given a name to me the other day, in another podcast, that I was listening to. Because the other thing is again, there's very few people talking about death and dying. And so it's a lot of like the hospice community that's talking about death and dying more, people experiencing cancer. So broadening the audience, but it's called voice banking. And basically, what it is saving voicemails from people that you love.
mm,
And if I can tell you how many times that it has come, that it has been important in my life. I accidentally saved a voicemail or had a voicemail from my grandfather before he passed away, and this was multiple years ago. Um, and just unknowingly, years after that, I listened to it. And having his voice there, like that's a legacy. And so after that experience, when people that are important to me call, um, if they haven't left a voicemail yet on my phone, I ask them to. And I digitize those and I save them in my little iCloud. Um, because I'm going to be a grandma soon, and she will never hear my dad's voice, but now she can because
mm.
we can digitize voices. And again, we talk about legacy and loss, like that's a forever. That's a forever. And that's like the whisper that you want on the wind. And so if you've never thought about it, if you've never heard of it, like there you go, voice banking. Do it. Save, take the pictures, write the letters, save the voicemails. Those things are memories. It's important, and that's what helps you stay mindful and grateful along the whole path along the journey. So that's one more
Wow.
thing.
That's a great tip. Have you ever seen the show Breaking Bad?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love Breaking Bad. And so uh Jesse has a girlfriend who dies of a drug overdose and he's just shattered when it happens. But one of the things he does after she's gone is to consistently call her cell phone to hear her voice message. He doesn't leave a message, he just calls over and over again to hear her voice. It just reminded me of that when you were talking about it. So I get it's a TV show. However, there was a lot of reality in that TV show in particular. I thought it was very real world television show. So if people want to work with you, if anyone in our audience wants to work with you, how do they do it? Like, what are the engagements you do with people outside of your normal day to day job?
Absolutely. So, I love having coaching conversations, which are opportunities for me to help people think forward. So again, if you're somebody who's experiencing and don't just think about loss as death and dying of people, it's our pets, it's a life that we thought that we were going to have, or an experience that we were counting on, right? All of those losses really impact us. So people can work with me, find me on LinkedIn, find me on any other of the other socials just by looking me up by my name, but also www.beself.ist, right? So don't think about being selfish, be selfist. And you can find me. I blog on there. You can find out a little bit more about the books that I've written. Again, those are a little more educational, but I want to keep writing more and again, sharing these stories and getting the stories from others, right? There's a collective out there. Like you said, everybody is impacted by challenge in life. And so collecting those stories and being able to share those, for those who might not feel like like they have a voice, I'm here to be that voice, to hear you, to help you. So definitely reach out and connect, for certain. I I want us to be comfortable talking about the uncomfortable, I guess.
Love that. And so, just for the audience, we've got all those links in the show notes, so you don't have to look far. Just go down to the show notes. We're going to include those so you can get in touch with Jenna if you want to work with her on your own or with your business or in whatever capacity there is. Look, she's such a cool person. It's not wouldn't be bad just to have a conversation with her, just to talk to her for a little bit. So wouldn't be a bad thing. So Jenna, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. You did such a great job, and I really appreciate you sharing both your personal and professional experiences with the listeners. Super helpful. And I love how you're an advocate for kind of forcing people to take control of the thing and have the conversation, right? So I think that's a great message for everybody to think about. It's not too uncomfortable. You're making it too uncomfortable. You got to take the hard swallow. You got to set your feet. You got to say the thing that needs to be said. You got to ask the question that needs to be asked. And you're going to be better off on the other side, even if it sucks while you're doing it, right?
You got it. And thank you for facilitating the conversation and making the connections and being willing to continue to, like we said, talk about the things that can be hard to talk about. But yeah, this is why we're here. This is our purpose. This is the important stuff. So let's keep the conversation going. Thank you so much. This was fantastic.
Totally. Yeah. And so, we're connected now. So we'll keep in touch and we'll do this again some point down the road.
Absolutely. Let's keep it going.
Love it. Well, thank you again, Jenna, so much. Have a great weekend and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Enjoy.
All right. Okay, guys. So, like we talked about in the intro, Jenna did not disappoint. What a neat lady. What a great perspective on life, even dealing with really difficult and challenging things. Certainly has not been a smooth or easy road. She talked about that. I love the tips and the practical tips that she gave everybody to deal with challenges, to have hard conversations, to show gratitude, to express your happiness, and to be really mindful and live in the here and now because we can't control what's going to happen tomorrow because it's not promised to us. So, great job by Jenna. Like we said at the end, we'll keep in touch with her. We can have her on again and kind of get an update on what her situation is and hopefully get some more professional expertise out of her because I really loved how she shared that with everybody. But James puts it up right over here every day. Don't forget to head to our website, saltygingertalk.com. All the podcast episodes are available there. Newsletter that we publish every weekday. You can subscribe to there. We've got links to all our social media accounts there as well. And don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you consume it on. Super helpful if you're able to do that. We have great people on. They give you great tips. They're going to help you make your life better. You don't want to miss any of those. So make sure you check out our next episode, and we will see you there.